There you go. I'll going and then I'll send you a link to it. Or maybe it'll send it to you automatically. I'm not sure.
We'll figure it out. But I want to say first things first, welcome to the Bake Sale Sessions podcast. This is a very, very special episode with the amazing, the vivacious, the superlative Marianne Cursetjee from Nanticoke Farms. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm great. Yeah, and I'm actually just to correct that, I'm with Alibi.
Oh, Alibi. I'm so sorry about that.
That's
Again,
okay.
the most amazing, most illustrious Marianne Cursetjee from Alibi. How are you doing today? Good morning. Oh,
That's right. Doing fabulous. We got a bright blue sunshine and it's going to be a gorgeous day today.
you are absolutely right. I was looking out the window. The sky is blue. The leaves are green. Everything is feeling just so. And I'm going to tell you something very fun. This is a secret, but you meeting with me today is an early birthday gift.
Oh, is it your birthday today?
Tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
So
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
thank
Another
you
trip
so
around
much.
the sun.
You got that right. And I figured being able to have a gift like this where I get to talk to someone who is knowledgeable in the field of cannabis and things of that nature, it's a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to say thank you again for taking the time to sit with me and to go over your journey as far as how cannabis was able to, you know, assist you medically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever the case may be. I'm glad that you're here. So
And
tell me a little bit about Marianne and how Alibi came together.
so this story depends on how much time you have, but this story starts about 10 years, a little over 10 years ago, actually. It's almost 11 now that I think about it. I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh,
And while I would not ever wish that on anybody, it was a great opportunity for me to just kind of step back and take a moment, a long moment, while you're going through treatment and all that stuff, to look at my life and figure out what I wanted the next chapter of it to be. Because when I was first diagnosed, it was scary, all that kind of stuff. I ended up going through surgery and then chemo and then radiation. So I did the full meal deal. And it took about a year, like that whole process of everything for waiting for my body to heal and all of that. And through that, a friend gave me some cannabis and said, "Hey, try this, it might help." And I was like, when you're at those moments in your life, you're like, sure, I'll do anything. And
right.
that was the perfect opportunity. Oregon had just legalized, so we were able to get our license. We built a farm, all while I was going through cancer treatments. And 10 years later, here we are. My oncologist kicked me out and said, "You are 10 years out, you're good to go." And our farm is Oregon, and we launched in New York a year and a half ago.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. Like how did you find like that inner strength to move forward with the cannabis farm and things of that nature while you were going through all these treatments?
It's interesting. It's people often talk about, like going through chemo and through cancer treatments as you're fighting something. And it's true that mindset is such a huge important thing, but I don't choose to think of it as a fight because, at the end of the day, you're powerless against these drugs. Like they're intended to be poison because they're trying to kill cancer. So, they kill a few good cells along the way, which makes the whole process even the more difficult. But no amount of mindset or positive thinking is going to, undo the effects of that in your body. But what it does is I made the choice that I was just trying to be positive. Like the things that you control the things that you can. Like I can't control what's happening in my body. I can't control whether physically I'll be able to get out of bed today. But what I can control is I can control my attitude and wake up with joy.
I like that. I like that. Wake up with joy and control your attitude. What's interesting, I find with cannabis, it has been able to help me with anxiety, depression, and things of that sort. And I find that it does help me see things from a different vantage point. It does help me find the joy because it's there. And I
Mhm.
think that those thoughts, they intentionally block you from finding that joy because those thoughts want to keep you in that place. And I really do salute you for being able to have that attitude of gratitude and really make something happen that you can control. And I feel that a lot of folks definitely need that message in this moment more than ever. And I'm definitely grateful and thankful to be able to speak with you about that. So now, how were you able to, because I know Oregon, that whole area, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, they were able to get things done first. How did you then go from Oregon to New York State? How did you make that transition and how did that all go about?
So I started looking outside the state probably 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 years ago now, because I've been in business long enough and I like to look kind of at like the bigger trends, try to step outside of the daily grind and look and see, okay, what do we actually think is going on here? And it became apparent pretty early on that Oregon was going to become ultra saturated. They issued unlimited licenses. The cultivation licenses cost $6,000 a year. So you can you compare that to New York. It's a
Right.
very different approach to regulation. And so, we all thought that federal legalization would happen. And so we're like, woohoo, let's build. And then we'll be able to, be a supply state for the country. Well, that hasn't turned out that way. But
Right.
um, but what it was to me is it was this idea of, okay, where else can the brand exist? Because Oregon is a tiny state. The population of Oregon is the same population in Brooklyn. So it's like
No
um
way.
yeah, the whole state. So it's just a very different way to look at branding. And our brand is really catchy, really captivating, and is we do have legs to it besides outside of Oregon. And my family's been in New York City for 25 years. So, New York City was kind of the next natural place about, well, where can we go where we have roots and we're connected to the community and we can just go and exist and be. And so I started working on building out my network with that as a goal. And so then by the time it came down to it, we were ready to do it, then found the right partner. So Nanticoke is our processor. They grow for us and make our products. And they're an awesome partner and helped get us on shelves in New York.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've heard nothing but compliments and great things about this brand. Just yesterday, I was at the New York Cannabis Company. They're on, I believe it's like 35th and 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And they really do have a good selection usually on the shelves. Uh, for a few weeks, it was like drip drop and permafrost. But yesterday, it was Pluto, pineapple runts. And then, of course, my good friend right there, memory loss. And I'm going to tell you, it's phenomenal. It is a really pleasant smoke. It feels smooth. It's uplifting, but you're still able to feel relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like your folks over at Nanticoke, they're doing the right stuff. And it just feels like a great overall experience. The terps are like right there, right on. Not worried about THC percentage, but that experience is top tier. And I
Nice.
want to compliment you for that.
Great. Yeah, that's part of Nanticoke's flower. They do have a really good lineup of flower. And I'll show you our Alibi stuff. So we just launched our live rosin pre-rolls. They're also at Northwest Cannabis Co. on Fifth Avenue. Um,
Ooh.
so yeah, 3 different flavors of live rosin infused pre-rolls with a ceramic tip. So it's
Ooh.
really nice high-end experience for an affordable price because that's what Alibi's all about. And you've probably seen our variety packs.
Sure have.
So, which are pretty unique in the market. Not a whole lot of people are doing that. So it's a great way for you to get some joints. They're like, the sativas for the daytime and the indicas for the night, whatever, but all in one pack.
I love that because usually you have to buy multiple packs. You got to buy your indica, your hybrid, your sativa, and then you've got like all of this. You've got all these little metal cases everywhere or these
Yep.
little jars, and you're like, what do I do?
Yep.
How have you been able to differentiate yourself from other brands here in the New York area?
Well, first of all, I think that people should, especially as we're still working on this area of stigma, where the plant is still has a stigma to it. So I think at the end of the day, brands and products should be, there's room for everybody at this point in the stage in the market, because there's a brand will call to you. Like, you might look at something and like, oh, that's what I want. That's that calls to me. I like what the company's doing. I like what they stand for. I like the packaging. But what works for you might not be the same as works for somebody else. And I think that's the beauty of where we are in this space, is we have an opportunity to create a brand experience from the ground up. And so Alibi, that's what we're all about, is we're about the experience and finding places in your life for an alibi. So we're really embedded in, our messaging is different, because when you create a brand, if you go to, like what I learned in business school, you identify your target demographic and you hone in and get it really targeted and niche. Like, okay, we're going to sell to women between ages of 25 to 35, and their income's going to be this, and their job's going to be that. I don't want a brand that's that niche. I want a brand that's for everybody. And so we're kind of breaking the rules of branding, because we're at the forefront of creating imagery that calls to the beauty and the sexiness that's inside everybody. And that's what cannabis brings out. So if that calls to you, there's an alibi for you.
I love that. The beauty and the sexiness within you. And I feel like I totally am in agreement about that statement right there, because when you consume cannabis in whatever form it is, I don't know if the word lighter is pertinent to this discussion, but I feel lighter mentally, and I feel a little more at ease. And I think that's the sexiness right there.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to figure out or have these little breakthroughs where you're like, looking at it from this angle, I see where this and this and this happened. It's okay. What is that sexiness for you when you consume? What is that alibi for you?
Ooh, I like that question. So it's for me, it's about being in a different place. For me, cannabis helps me kind of relax and get out of my head a bit. I tend to get really I've had people
Wound
tell
up?
me catastrophizing, which was a new word to me, but it's like, one little bad thing happens, then you go down that path of like, oh no, the worst thing is going to happen, even though it's not, but it's easy to get caught up in those thoughts of negativity and swirling around and all these terrible things. But it helps me to forget that for a moment and just kind of stop the spinning, just relax and be present.
I love that. I love that. So I find that your approach to marketing is akin to overall the goal of the cannabis community: inclusivity, bringing people together, all walks of life. And I think that is phenomenal. I'll tell you something really funny. When I met you at Revelry, walking around, the grounds, I liked the fact that people were really interested in you. People are interested in what you are all about, what you bring to the table, what you are looking to do in this cannabis space. There's no mention of your job title, your salary. People are focused on you, the person. And I really enjoyed that overall from my experience at Revelry. Compared that to, a dinner party where there's wine or alcohol, the first question's usually, so what do you do?
Mm.
I felt like, wow, this is really, really nice. I like this community. And what I found is, I find that since this is a female plant, I
Mhm.
find that women are really engaged in the aspect of building that community and really making something for everyone, something that is collaborative, something that is joyful, something that is like a release. You know, I understand, you have to have your cups, you have to have your competitions, but overall, it's really all about coming together. And I feel that with you. I feel that with the logo right behind you. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
spread your wings. Okay. Let all those feelings go, let them dissipate. That's the alibi.
You know it. Yep. Boom.
Oh,
Bada
I just
boom.
I just figured it out. Oh my gosh. So now I want to ask you something really light. Now, from Oregon to New York, whatever the case may be, are are the rules still the same? Like ash before you pass, um, don't hog the joint and stuff like that. Is it all pretty much the same?
Yeah, having a sesh is having a sesh, right? The whole puff, puff, pass, bring it together. I think that that feeling of community is the same no matter where you go. But one big difference, so person to person, it's very similar. Like we're all together in this, and my family makes fun of me because like, oh, we're walking down a street or something, and I'll be like, oh, where's my people? I smell them somewhere. Um,
Yes.
so you can tell who's a lover of the plant, but the big differences between the two states are just really the culture. Oregon has it's a bit more underground even now with legalization. In New York, like even outside dispensaries, there's guys still black market guys, right outside the dispensary doors. It's like, come on, just go down a block. But it's still very much out in the open, and it's as it should be. Like people shouldn't be embarrassed or try to hide it or anything like that. But even the events, you can, Saturday night, you can go find events where people are consuming and just having a good time. And that's very different from Oregon. The regulators here are much more aggressive in terms of squashing the industry. And you can see that, you can feel that in the culture.
Really?
Yeah.
It here in New York or in Oregon,
New in Oregon, it's way worse than Oregon.
they're really trying to squash it?
Oh yeah, 100%. There's regulators who would love to put us out of business. I mean, they
I
tried.
don't
They came for us this year. They tried to, anyway, change the gummy rules so that basically none of the small producers would be able to make gummies. Made the regulations so onerous that nobody could have afforded to do it.
Now this is the thing that gets me. These regulators, right? They don't really enjoy tax revenue. I don't
Paying for the
understand.
tools? Yeah,
I don't understand. Like, you're not really getting a lot of tax revenue from alcohol, really, right?
right.
And tobacco is on the downslope, even
Mhm.
though Gen Z would have you think that they're trying to bring it back. So I'm like, why not have a plant that is beneficial to all and collect your revenue, roads, schools? Why not? It's not this vice that everyone thinks it is.
Right.
Like, when I partake, I nothing more love to watch a good documentary
Hmm.
or a movie, or I'm doing some housework. I'm knocking out 4 loads of laundry. I'm washing dishes. I'm cleaning, because like I say this all the time, like I'm gonna go all out just to prove the point that I am not the prototypical couch locked stoner.
Yeah.
I'm going to do more than you. I'm going to do it better than you. Okay. And I'm going to be on point at all times. You're not
Love
going to
it.
be able to do that drinking a 6-pack of Coors Light.
You're right.
You're not going to see straight. So I just don't get it. What would be your ideal 5-year like scenario for Oregon, New York, nationwide? What would you like to see in 5 years?
So, I mean, the vision that we all have, a lot of people don't like comparing cannabis to alcohol. And, for lots of good reasons. Alcohol is demonstratedly a poison and bad for you. Cannabis is not. So there's a lot of ways that they don't align. But here in Oregon, we have a really rich wine culture. So, we've got Oregon has won all kinds of awards for their wine. The Willamette Valley is one of the premier spots in the world for growing wine grapes. And the government funds a lot of the promotional things for that. We have the Oregon Wine This, and you can go to the local college and take classes that are supported by, on winemaking and all of that. And yet cannabis is still not part of that. So to me, the vision is just that people really do have freedom. And, we talk about freedom, and it's like this vague thing about what does that mean, but I should be able to choose what I put in my body as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, as long as it is like, I would like to have a few guardrails around pesticides, so it should be clean and tested. Obviously we don't want to have bad product out there that's going to get people sick, but clean and tested product, age gated, so it's 21 and over, and then people should just choose. Like, that's really the end of the day. Like, let people choose what they want. So I think the government just needs to back off and let people create their own destiny.
I love that. Now, do you have circling back to the top of the interview, as you went through it wasn't a fight. You went through your cancer diagnosis. Do you find more folks coming up to you in a similar situation seeking advice?
Yeah, what's interesting about being in the cannabis space is when you start talking to people, it really is the great leveler, because people, say like, hey, what brought you to cannabis? And somebody will say, oh, my grandma had this, it really helps her with her arthritis, or oh, my aunt had breast cancer. Everybody has a story. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. And because I'm so open, I'm truly open about sharing. You could ask me anything about that whole journey. I would happily answer it. It's because I think that's part of removing the stigma, is just openly talking about it without feeling embarrassed, without feeling shy. And I had somebody text me, it was 2 weeks ago. I've known him casually for several years. He's in the industry. He texted me and he said his girlfriend was just diagnosed with cancer, and she really appreciates that I'm so openly talking about how I use RSO and, this mindset stuff we were talking about. And it gave her the hope that as she was going through her treatment, that she would come through at the end okay. And that just makes me feel really validated, not because it's about me, but because the fact that I'm happy to share my journey with the plant, it made it more okay for somebody else to do it. And that little bit of hope, that little bit of positive thinking, if that's what it takes, then that's what we should be about, right? As human beings, if my story helps anybody else, then like that was worth it right there.
I love that. I'm going to piggyback on that. And there were a couple other organizations at Revelry, and I was sharing my story regarding my love bug, my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some items from Eaton that had really assisted her with cycles, perimenopause, menopause, and helped her get sleep, helped her ease discomfort, and it was similar to what you had just relayed to us, that sharing those experiences, those anecdotes really are validating, because the excitement that I saw in the folks from Eaton when I shared that, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And it made me feel really good because it's something that brought us closer together, because now that you're not feeling that discomfort, or you're able to sleep better, you're getting closer, and you're feeling good because you're able to bring something home that's making your partner feel okay. And I really do I feel strongly about it too, because it can assist in so many different ways than just the obvious.
Yeah.
And I really do believe wholeheartedly that I think women are the folks that are really going to take this to another place, because I've learned so far it's the endocannabinoid system is really in you. I haven't lit this up yet, but this right here, all of this is female. And like, be having that ability, having those conversations, and even in passing, like I'm purchasing a product in a dispensary and I'm like, I'm looking for something for my wife, this, that, and the other. It's a tincture. You see people at the other end and they're looking at you like, wait, you got that for your wife? I'm like, yeah, she loves it. And they're like, whoa, minds are blown. And I really feel like women are the ones that are going to make this really go to another level. Because I think dudes, we're just, we're puffing and we're getting silly, we're having a good time, we're eating, munching, this, that, and the other. But for women, I really believe and see like there are some real benefits. There are real health benefits, real psychological, physiological benefits, and I'm all for it. And I think you guys are going to take it there. You already are. And I really do salute all of y'all for everything that you are doing for this community and for this industry. Now you're in Oregon, you're in New York. Do you see yourself venturing into any other states in the near future, or is it just this for now?
Well, the answer is yes and yes. So yes, it's New York for now, because New York is such an important market, and it really is at its infancy. We're a small company, so we don't have, big, massive investors behind us backing us. So I can't afford, I have to pay attention to every single dollar and be mindful of making the best decisions that we can. So we are all in on New York. We're investing heavily. Like, that's where all of our focus is, because it's such a fun place to be in. It's such a great way to help spread our message. But also behind the scenes, I'm looking at other options. I really like New Jersey. I think, New Jersey and New York, they're kind of the same market. Like, it's different
Like
states.
this.
Yeah, they're BFFs. But the rules are so different in New Jersey that it really is like starting up a whole company just to get into another state. So kind of queuing that up in the background, while still keeping 100% of the focus on New York.
And I feel like New Jersey, it's like that next step, because New Jersey has, I think, what New York wants. They have consumption.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing that they're able to do that. But like, I don't want to cross a bridge to do that when I can just sit at home.
Exactly.
I don't want to go to Atlantic City
Ever. No, sorry.
to do that. I mean, I would love to see that happen in New York. And I got a great hunch, a great feeling that's going to be beneficial for Alibi. Being able to have people experience it like right then and there, real time. Like, how could that be beneficial for the Alibi group?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea, is that New Jersey's next, but it's harder to get there than you might think. We have to completely redesign our packaging because their packaging rules are different. So it's a big push, but we're there. I think, we already have our network and we already have people who want an alibi. So when it's time to pull the trigger, it'll be good to go.
Love it. Now, let me ask you this. There's an interesting conversation I had once. I worked in a healthcare system, And at one point I worked in the radiology department.
Mm-hmm.
And the chief, the chair or whatever, I was just, casually talking about, what do you think about cannabis? And of course it was poo-pooed. Have you been able to reach out or share your experiences with your oncologist? And if so, what were they feeling about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. So this is 10 years ago when I was first going through chemo. I actually consulted with a physician in Oregon who, there's this whole family of physicians, like the mom, the dad, the two daughters, they're all physicians. They're absolutely brilliant. And they're based here in Portland, and they've done so much work. So I just did an independent consult with them because they know about, like, they're the experts. So I'm like, okay, here's what I've got, give me a protocol. And so I used their protocol because my normal oncologist had no idea. She was open to it. She's like, sure, do whatever you want. But she wasn't able to advise me on, like, the plant is so complex. And she's like, she doesn't know anything about telling me what specific things to do. So it was great getting education about, and so much more research has come out over the last 10 years. But at the time, the advice was, THC, CBD, and CBG. Those are kind of the combinations, and do X number of milligrams a day, and that was the protocol at the time to help me. And so that's what I did. I did that for several years, and it seemed to work. Like I'm not a scientific study. I couldn't do an A/B test, but it was but that's what got me through. And so I'm happy to share that, and I love sharing that. And I think that now there's so much more medical information available, but we as companies, I have to really tread the line very carefully, because we can't say that stuff out loud. We can't say, oh, use this for that. Like we can't. So you have to find ways of hinting on it. So like saying, oh, this other customer told me that this, you have to do it roundabout and as anecdotes. I'm hopeful that things will change over time, and I'm sure they will.
Excellent. Now, I want to go back to a sesh is a sesh is a sesh. What would be like your ideal session? You're in Portland right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so set the scene for me. Like, what is it? Like, how many people are there? Like, music, food, what's on the TV? What is your thing?
Ooh, okay. I've got the perfect one, because I still think about this. I'm like, oh man, like this is just a perfect night. You know how you have those moments you're like, you can want to go back to. It's like, oh, that was so perfect. So we have a cabin on a lake. It's about an hour and a half away. So it's kind of off the grid. It's truly just, a cabin. And we have neighbors next door. And the lake is a small enough lake that the kids, when my kids were little, they just grew up there. You just like let them run free, and like, hey, come back if you're hungry. Somebody will help you out if you get stuck. It's that freedom that is missing a lot of times. So anyway, we have really good memories there. So we have a fire pit and hanging out with the neighbors. So late at night, a hot summer night, you can hear the crickets and the birds. The bats are just starting to come out. Stars are up.
Little owl.
Yep, all that kind of stuff. It's out in the woods. The lake is right there. You hear like little splashes from the fish just jumping up every once in a while, sitting around the fire, smoking a joint, telling stories. And it's totally the puff puff pass kind of thing. That was a perfect word. Yeah.
Dude, that is amazing, Mary. I love that. Are you going to be able to recreate that this summer?
I hope so. That's the plan. Yep.
I love that. Are you going to be back in New York anytime soon?
Yep, I'm back in 2 weeks.
Get out.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, what I want to ask you is this. We're just talking about how you were planning Jersey. They've got consumption. I want to ask you, how would you see that working coming from Oregon? Because I'm sure they have it there, right?
No.
What?
No
way.
No
okay.
at all.
So here you go. I know that it is, I believe it's Ohio, I think Massachusetts, and Jersey. How would you like to see consumption take place in your two states of New York and Oregon?
Um, okay. So I think it's like I think New York is already so much further ahead of Oregon. I think there's this balance between, I've heard people complain in New York that, oh, I can't even walk down the sidewalk without smelling this stuff. And that's a legitimate, like, I would never force this on anybody. Like, you imagine it's tobacco and I don't want to be smelling anybody else's tobacco smoke. So I wouldn't want to, I think we need to be respectful of people who are not consumers, and because that's just fine. Like, nobody should be shamed for not wanting to consume if that's their choice. So I think there's that balance between being respectful of your neighbors and also having the right and the freedom to consume the plant wherever you want. And I think just keeping it in, like, it should be able to be open but respectful. And whatever that looks like, I don't think the government should get too far involved with it. I think you get government rules and it's going to go sideways, and it's not going to be fairly applied. It's not going to be interpreted correctly. There's a lot of things that go wrong with regulation, because at my core, I'm kind of less regulation is better, but we have to just be respectful as humans.
I get it.
So that's kind of where I see it, is it's normalized. And if you want to go light up down the street, you should be able to go light up down the street. Just like not when there's kids right in front of you, just be mindful of your surroundings.
Got it.
But that's where I see it. I see it as, it shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't even be a discussion point. It should be just people doing their thing and being good people.
I love that. I do enjoy that there's so much discourse regarding packaging, aromas and scents and things of that nature, whereas you can have a kid walk into a liquor store during Halloween for trick or treat. Yep. You have advertisements all over social media, radio, print, television, for cigarettes, for tobacco, for alcohol. I just want a place for this plant, and I think that it deserves a place. It deserves a spot. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody should really take a good look at like a Colorado, because they had that surplus, they had the tourism, they were able to fund schools and take care of the unhoused and all that. I think that would be a beautiful thing with the extension of this plant that is female, of course. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. With regards to consumption, like, how would you visualize your Alibi products being consumed? Because I know that you've got flower, you're working on, is it live rosin or resin? Like, and you're also doing, are you guys doing the concentrates as well?
We've got vapes. So here's our vape.
Oh, wow.
So we've got our vapes, and we have our pre-roll variety packs, and we have our regular infused pre-rolls. We got that. Whoop, there we go. And then, as you so rightly mentioned, we just launched our live rosin infused pre-rolls.
Woohoo!
So, like, just at Revelry. So that's,
I love it.
Hot on the market.
Love it, love it, love it. So would you rather see, like, because I'm thinking back to like Amsterdam, where it was like you could buy the pre-roll, you could buy the flower. Would you see your Alibi as far as both? You'd have your flower in the jar where people can smell it, and then like, I'll take a little of that, or you've got your pre-rolls in the jar and they give. I like that. Mm-hmm. Is that what you kind of visualize?
I love all of that. I think being able to know, like, I love the concept of being able to smell flower before you buy it. Here in Oregon, we're a deli style. So, it's these big giant mason jars. You open it up, you're like, is that the one? Like, oh, no, I don't want that one. They put it away. They're like, okay, here's something else with a different terpene profile. So you find the one you like. And you can even pick out your nug. You can say, oh, I want that one, the third up from the side. And it's I like that a lot from a consumer perspective because you're able to really see what is calling to you. Um, it's not as good from a grower side because we don't have, it's nice for us as a grower to be able to control the quality of the end product. If it's in a jar, it's packaged properly, it's sealed, then as long as we did our job with the product right and the packaging right, then when you buy it at the store, there's as much integrity to the packet, to the plant as there can be. But when it's in a jar, yeah, just like that.
First thing I do when they hand me the jar, I'm like, oh wow,
Yep.
okay, all right.
Yep. But if it's deli style, which was like we were both loving, but if it's deli style, you don't know how many times that's been opened up. You don't know if it's been stored in the heat, if it's been in the full sun, like if it's put in the back. So there's pros and cons to both approach, and everybody should choose what they want.
Oh, I got a question.
Yeah.
Is like the oils on the hand, or is that gonna do something to it too? Like constantly?
Well, they use these big tongs, like these big giant tweezers, like they're, I think food service, they're like big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is what most people use. But yeah, you're totally right. Like the terpenes are all VOCs, so volatile organic compounds. So they escape and they disappear. So over time, opening up that jar, terpenes are going to escape. And if it sits there for 6 months, it's just going to be dry, crumbly mess. So don't think the deli style is perfect. Like I think there's a balance to be had.
What kind of balance would you see? Is it like something where, like in a deli, you have like that display slice of pizza, but it's display.
Yeah.
And to your point, like you want to be able to smell the thing, but we know there's like a shelf life to it. Like how can you do it? Is it like refrigeration? Is it like what would be able to like keep that feeling as fresh?
The coolest things I've seen, and I think that this is an opportunity for somebody who's super creative to come up with a good solution, but I've seen these things that are basically a small jar, but they have like a little aerosolizer. I don't know if that's the right word, but like you basically push it and then it does a puff of air. So so you imagine just like a little puff of air like that comes through across the flour and you can smell that. So so you just push the little button and you're like, oh, okay, is that what I want or not?
I love that.
That I've seen a couple of those. There's, or maybe you just have a single jar that's your sample and then you just keep it, take the lid off and on and, just like perfumes or lotion, right? Like here's the sample jar, you can test that. But the one you actually buy is going to be kept.
But it all goes, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
It all goes back to that, like, that consumer education. And I'll tell you something funny. And when I go to a dispensary and I'm like, what are the terpenes? Usually I get this. Oh, okay. Let's talk. And do you feel like the consumer really needs to be educated? Because sometimes you see them at the kiosk and they're just like 80% THC, let's go. And I want to say sometimes like, no, but to each their own. So how do you feel about like that education component?
I think that there is so much education left to do. And I think it's interesting to think about because, those of us in the industry, we can talk about terpenes and the endocannabinoid system and use all these big complicated, beta caryophyllene, myrcene, like things that like words that we have just come to know. But that is so far above where I think, if we're really trying to destigmatize the plant, I think we need to make it more accessible and talking about and finding that balance between accuracy, which is, the actual terpene names of these complicated concepts, because the plant is complex. It is way more complex than we know. So there's that natural complexity, but then we have to find a way to make it accessible for somebody who doesn't know anything. And I think that's always the difficulty. And a lot of people have come up with cool charts of like the color coded terpenes and the effects based things. And I think those are all great. And I think there's there's room for creativity and there's room for improvement in that area. Because we're not there yet. And I think that's the beauty of being in this be able to create our own destiny is coming up with ideas. So I'm looking forward to seeing what people come up with over the next few years.
I love that. I love that. What is Alibi's role in that education? What is Alibi looking to do to bring in more not consumers, more folks into the fold, as far as, hey, even if you are not looking to really get into it, this is what it can do anecdotally. These are some of the benefits anecdotally. Is Alibi looking to maybe get into that avenue as well, or just you're focused on your thing?
Yeah, so we have done a lot of things for education. The first thing is probably 8 years ago, we were one of the first to put terpene percentage on our joint boxes. I chose to not put the specific terpenes, like you can always get to it from the lab results, but I chose to not put like the specific beta caryophyllene, myrcene, linalool, whatever on the package, just because I thought that it was extra complexity. But I did put the percentage because I thought that, and I still do think that that's a way of driving that conversation. So if you've got something that's like 0.5% of terpenes compared to something that's 4% terpenes, well, obviously you choose the higher terpene. I mean, it's not obvious, but that's what we were trying to drive the conversation to, because we are required by law to put the THC percentage, but the law does not require us to put the terpene percentage. And so I was trying to fill that gap as a brand. Like, let's put the terpene percentage on there. Let's make it nice and big. So as somebody's looking at the box, they start thinking beyond THC.
I'm going to tell you right now, New York Cannabis Company, when I was over there yesterday, that was part of their criteria. Looking at your Alibi list of products, that terpene percentage drove it for me.
Perfect.
And I was so excited. I had my workstation all set up. I was ready to go. And as soon as I took that first, that's how I felt. I'm going to show you right here. Take a look. That
Nice.
is your memory loss right there. Wait
Look
a
at
minute.
that.
It gets even better, because look at that right in there. Oh my gosh.
Beautiful and crystally.
It was a sight to behold, Marianne. I'm going to tell you right now, I really do commend all of the folks that have brought me into this fold, and I truly appreciate all of them, because this plant has really helped me, assisted me, and like right now, I got the birthday blues because I'm going to be 48 tomorrow, but I'm like, I've really been all over the place, and I've done a lot of great things, met a lot of great people, continue to meet a lot of great people, and this is another chapter as far as Adrian goes, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this can take me. It is really brought out a really like a better side of me, gentler, calmer, more chill, not trying to get wound up and spiral. Like you said, that one thing can just send you into a tizzy. And I'll tell you this one anecdote. On my walk home from the subway, no matter what kind of day it is, good, bad, indifferent, have a nice little puff, just because I want to make sure before I'm in here, this is the sanctuary. I want no negative vibes. I want to leave that out there. And when I'm here with my ladybug, our kitty, it is, and I really do commend you. And I have to thank you, because being at Revelry was my first time, and walking around with Rihanna, it was like I was walking around with my big sister, kind of. It felt like that. And just being able to be accepted, be able to, be viewed as a whole person. It just felt really good. And I really loved it. And I just want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart, Marianne, for taking the time to really speak with me. Now, what I want to do is this. We already talked about your ideal sesh, but I want to know, what is the one thing in a sesh that can just really grind your gears?
Oh, well, okay. The first thing that I think that comes to mind, I don't know if this is where you were going, but is I've gotten sick from like when people with COVID. So like if you are sick, you best not be sharing.
That's what I like. I'm all about that, because I know we come from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was doing past life, the tequila shots, you're just like, ugh, and you're
Uh-huh.
doing all this stuff. You're like, you didn't even think of anything like that.
Yep.
Like, no. And you're like puff, puff, pass, and everybody's around you and this and that. You're breaking up with your fingers.
Yep.
It's really interesting how it's all changed up. What I want to know, one last thing before we part ways. How do you feel about like the competitive aspect of it, like the rolling competitions and the different cups? How do you feel about those things?
It depends which day you ask me. Um, on one hand, some of the cups over the years are pay to play. So, somehow magically the companies who have invested in the biggest booths and the splashiest display and spent the most money on sponsorships, somehow they're the ones who end up winning. So that happens with a lot of cups, and it's, I'm not going to say that that's exactly what happens, but you see patterns over time. So there's that little cynical side of me that's like, yeah, I'm not going to buy a medal, but I do think that there's a place for it, and I don't necessarily come at it from a competition side, like, oh, I'm better than you, but more I think it's an opportunity for us to show what's the good stuff, like it's an opportunity to strive to be the best. So we won last year. We won best flower in Oregon, and I'm not going to say we have the best flower in Oregon because there's so many amazing growers, and it varies crop to crop and what's good for you. But the fact that we were able to stand out amongst a crowded field and get some recognition, I think that's a testament to the team and our focus on quality. So I think it's good to have a place to show people, like to strive to, and like, okay, I want to get better. It's like, oh wow, and it's that idea of always wanting to improve that I come, it's a constant quality improvement, like constantly. But weighing that against, like, some people come at it with an ego of, I want the medal because I'm the best. And I don't like that approach. That's not me. So it's about your approach and about what you get to it.
I like that. The opportunity to show the best of what you got.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that. Now, I had an interesting conversation with Rihanna a few weeks ago. How would you feel about a concept where it's like a farmer's market? Like we have farmers markets for bread, fruit, vegetables, flowers, you name it, meats. How can we get something like that? Not just one state, two state, but maybe eventually where it's like a weekly thing where you can really show the best of what you got,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not a competition, because every booth is doing okay. Every
Right.
booth is doing all right. I really do. I commend that. I like that opportunity to show the best of what you got. Now my last parting shot is this. This has been an amazing episode of the Bake Sale Sessions. I have to tell you, this is a very, very special episode, and I hold this episode near and dear to my heart. Thank you so much, Marianne Cursetjee. Where can we find you? Is it alibi.co on Instagram?
That's our website, alibi.co. That's our website. And on Instagram, we're at alibi.ny.
Alibi.ny is on Instagram, alibi.ny.
Mhm.
Then alibi.co is the website. So everybody out there, this is the place to be. You anecdotally want to do something for yourself, mental health, emotional health, physiologically, this is where it's at. Now, will you have any opportunities to speak to the public or anything like that, or you're really focused on getting these states lined up?
I mean, we always take any opportunity we can to share our message. So, we've been on Rolling Stone, we've been on a bunch of podcasts. So because what we found is that the message of Alibi really, really resonates with people because everybody needs an alibi.
That is correct. Everybody needs an alibi. And with that, I'm going to say my alibi is I got to get to work. So I will see everyone later. Marianne, thank you so much for this. You are amazing. Now, you know what you're going to do with this, right? Since you have recorded this, you are also keeping this too. And I want you to distribute this as well because this is yours, okay, as much as it is mine, okay?
Sounds good.
I am hoping for the day where I get to speak to you again. I want a part 2 because I want to dive in more. I want to get as personal as you want to get for part 2.
Sounds
Is that
good.
all right?
Sounds fabulous.
Marianne, thank you so much. You are a gem, and I
Thank
cannot
you.
Have a great day.
Great to chat.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye.